Every trader starting out has to decide how they're going to fund their first account. It's kind of a hard pill to swallow though if you know that the likelihood of blowing up an account in your first try is pretty high. Throwing some money at it that you've taken a really long time to put aside, it feels a little scary. When I started trading, I faced this exact same dilemma. I was really lucky. My husband was willing to fund my first account. He was also willing to pay for Timothy Sykes' chat room, and then eventually he paid for Ross Cameron's course. My husband really believed in me, and that was really awesome. I wanted to be the one to fund it, but my place was at home with the kids and with the household. I wanted to take the best care of it that I could, so that was my job. And as we all know, those things don't get any pay. So I didn't have any income coming in for myself. The chat room and the course were really expensive. It was about $120 a month for the chat room, and it was about $4,000 to do the course. As you can see, we spent quite a bit of money on my education. My husband and I actually shared a lot of these things so we could learn at the same time. But this was a lot of money for a household with 4 kids, 6 people, 1 cat, and a home that needed a lot of repair and maintenance, a mortgage payment, as well as 2 cars that needed maintenance and repair, various and sundry other bills, putting food on the table, school fees, and so on and so forth. When I blew up my first account, it was really hard for me to deal with that emotion. I felt like I had wasted this money, and it was so difficult to bring it together in the first place, and so there was a lot of guilt there. I certainly didn't want to have to ask my husband for more money, and I felt really embarrassed. He was already working 60 hours a week, and I didn't want to take more out of his pocket when he was working so hard and had so little time for himself. Our top priority was to pay down the house more quickly, and so every little bit that we saved was set aside for that purpose. In 5 years that we've been here, we've been able to pay down 3/4 of the house, and that was mainly because we made it a priority, and it was so important to us that we secure this safety net for our family. Having a house is important, and when you own it outright, it's much more secure than having a mortgage payment. To be completely honest, every time we had a windfall of money that we weren't expecting, we would put it towards the house as well. The point is that our priority was that we wanted to pay down this house, and so we didn't have a whole lot of extra money on top of that. We have a credit card, but we only use it so that we can get points on our regular purchases, which essentially increases our money by 1 to 3%. We pay it off at the end of each month, and as you can tell, staying out of debt is top priority for us. We don't pay interest on those things. Paying down the house, likewise, was about getting rid of that interest payment and making sure that we were only paying for our house maybe 1.5 times versus the 2 to 3 times you'll end up paying on your house price if you were to go the whole 30 years. So as you can tell, money is always on our minds. We work really hard to control and to use our money the most beneficial way. So when I blew up my account, it was really difficult for me to allow myself this grace over the fact that I had essentially thrown away that money. Even though I blew up that account, it was money towards my education. There's only one way to get some of the education with trading, and that is to risk some money in the market and to actually trade. So I got to thinking about how I could maybe earn some money, and I thought outside of the box. I wanted to make sure that I could do something that fit into my life, that I didn't have to go out and get a standard job, part-time or full-time, to make this happen. I wanted to be able to bring in money in between all of the things I was doing with my life and my kids and my house and my husband and all of those things. I thought in terms of side hustles. After all, time is a precious commodity, and you really don't want to give it up for something if you really could manage to to bring that money in elsewhere. Even if you're okay with putting some of your savings into your account, it may be beneficial for you to consider some of these side hustles in order to make sure you have backup money for when and if you actually blow up your first account. Maybe you even have a big drawdown, or you want to get up over the PDT rule in a certain kind of account. I have had a lot of people in my life ask me about how I managed to take care of a family on such a low budget, how I managed to have such beautiful things, and how I'm so resourceful, and what are the things that I do to save money for my household. It's always been kind of like a game for me to find ways to stretch our dollars and to give us the most interesting, exciting lifestyle that I could. So I've been doing this for a long time, and I decided that I would make a Frugal Living Instagram page, and I'll link that down below. I did this so that I could help people understand how they can live a more beautiful life, a bigger life on less. I have always found it really fun to find all of the best free activities, free junk food, and coupons. It's definitely more of a hobby than it is work for me, but it definitely increases our income value. It's paid for a lot of creature comforts for my family when I otherwise couldn't afford them. You could say frugality is my passion, and I love to find things and reuse them because I'm a bit of a pirate. Through my Frugal Living Instagram, I learned from a lot of other frugal-minded individuals about dumpster diving. I'd known about dumpster diving before, but I didn't really understand that businesses threw away so much good stuff. So I determined that this might be the best way for me to bring in a little income. I would dumpster dive once a week. I had my route and my certain dumpsters I would hit, always unlocked, always completely legal, and I was able to bring in enough stuff that I could sell it either on my local Craigslist or at yard sales or at my local swap meet and make a little bit of income. I was really drawn to this way of doing things because I really believe that the world needs us to waste less. And unfortunately, businesses and individuals waste about 40% of all food that's in the United States. One of the biggest things I found was food, so I was able to reduce our grocery budget as well, which allowed me to keep a little more money in our pockets. I spent a lot of time giving away food and items that I found as well. I really enjoyed being able to pass on what I couldn't use and help benefit somebody else. I would also spend time going around just keeping an eye open, and if ever I saw a piece of furniture or something in somebody's garbage, I would actually take a look, and I often brought those things home. A lot of the time I would use them in my house for our family. We definitely benefit from the free things. My family has a much more lavish lifestyle, so to speak, because we have used a lot of people's throwaways and hand-me-downs. I generally stayed away from having an eBay shop or so on because I just didn't like the idea of having to ship things, of having to keep track of things and pay fees and taxes and all those sorts of things. It was definitely a non-permanent side hustle, so it wasn't really even worth putting a ton of effort into. It just was here and there where I could fit it into my life. There are other places like Facebook Marketplace I've heard is really good, and I've never really tried it. If you do plan on trying out dumpster diving, just make sure you're really safe. You go with a partner or buddy and you follow all the laws and don't break and enter. Especially stay away from compactors as well. There are some horror stories about people being trapped in compactors and killed, so don't go there. Here's the thing, there's lots of different ways that you can accomplish bringing in a little bit of extra money on the side. So don't think that dumpster diving is the end-all be-all. It's just how I managed to get enough money to fund my second account, which was really awesome for me. I felt very accomplished. I felt like I deserved to have that account, and it was really a good feeling. I've also donated plasma. I waited for a $1,000 deal where if I did 8 sessions, I got $1,000. I would definitely say that it's not worth $20 per go. And the reason for that is long waiting times and significant physical risk. It's just not worth it for less than $50 per go. I pick up every coin that I find because I think a lot of people don't really see the value in coins, and they're kind of just everywhere because of that. I'm always searching when I walk around stores or down the street, and I often find enough to make rolls of coins every couple weeks. Some other great places are car washes, drive-throughs, and checkouts. One year I even found about $100 in coins, and that's nothing to scoff at. And again, it's really fun to search and to look for treasure, which makes me feel a little bit like a pirate. Also, when I go walking or whenever I'm out and about, I'll run to the gym to save on gas and to encourage myself to be a little more physically active. On those runs or walks home, I'll often take a bag and grab all the cans along the way and bring them back. Then whenever I have enough cans, I take them to be recycled. There are lots of things around your home that you can have recycled and get some money for in return. That includes things like Christmas lights and scrap metal and so on. Other things that bring in a little bit of income via gift cards usually are things like Coke rewards, so Coke caps, and Marlboro rewards, which are only good through December of this year. There are also some other food companies doing reward programs that will give you gift cards additionally. I use these gift cards in place of using cash or a card at places like Walmart and Amazon, which are places I would normally shop, so it helps me not spend out of my bank account. I've also offered to do work for my neighbors. I've raked leaves, I've cleaned out gardens. I spent about 6 months one year cleaning out my neighbor's house and yard, and I managed to sell enough of that stuff that they were willing to give me half of it, so I made about $1,500. Not the greatest income, but it was really more to help them out than to help me out, but it does bring in something. I personally use a lot of cashback apps, so receipt scanning apps will give you cash sometimes to your PayPal or to your bank account, depending on the one. That gives you cash back on things you're already buying generally. So it's like you're getting to spend your money twice. I use Ibotta, CoinOut, ReceiptPal, ReceiptHog, Fetch, and Swagbucks. I also use GetUpside for gas cash back, but I also have a credit card specifically to give me a discount on gas at Smith's. Since I do a lot of physical exercise, I also use the Evidation app, which gives me gift cards for working out. There are a lot of apps like this, and there are survey taking apps and so on. If you spend a lot of time scrolling on your phone anyway, you might as well swap that out for doing something that'll actually bring in a little cash. Another possibility is that you could declutter your house. I would say that most people probably have enough stuff in their house to bring in a few $100s. If you have a lot of extra clothes, try selling somewhere like ThredUp online, or Plato's Closet if it's in your neighborhood, or just have a yard sale. I've even sold clothing in one size in a lot online on my local Craigslist. Too many people put a lot of their money into things and then they just donate or toss them. It's just kind of sad because we could regain some of the cash that we put into those things. In my experience, swap meets are actually more effective at selling most of what you would have than yard sales are, but it could depend on the area you live in. In the past, I've even sold my hair. I sold 17 inches for about $200 because it was virgin hair, which means I don't dye it or blow dry it or curl it or use heat on it at all. I actually did this many years ago, and I just looked it up the other day, and I could get about $1,000 for the same hair now. So maybe next time I'll have some short hair. So get creative, do a little research, try to find a good side hustle that doesn't take all your time and is worth the extra effort. Like that robot says in that one movie, see a need, fill a need. and maybe you'll be able to bring in enough to fund your next trading account.